Made so many mistakes along the way in starting. We moved to our current location that you've been a part of in 2013. So August 2013 we moved there, and we built strength from strength. Overnight success takes 10 years kind of thing, and that's what it felt like for us. We started as a very small gym, and we're a very small business, but we're still, the concept's all growing.
I mean, that kind of culture in an organization doesn't happen by accident. Like, what are you doing around values and culture? What's the story on that space?
If they can follow that order in terms of make sure you're presentable, make sure you're dressed well, make sure you're showing up on time, showing up 10 minutes before your client session.
Henry Yuill is a passionate fitness expert and the owner of Southern Highland leading fitness center, The Shed. Henry lives and breathes what he coaches. We talk values, competitors, and the importance of a high-performance culture. Henry also covers resilience and character as someone who successfully manages type 1 diabetes.
So the secret for us is the PTs they deliver such excellence with their service.
Yep.
They tend to be the reason why our clients are staying so much longer. And once they're in the gym, the actual work that Harry and I do is quite low maintenance.
Think about your business as a whole. You're competing with a lot of sort of named brand, big chains. How do you differentiate yourself? Obviously, the community piece is good, the way that you've set up, the way that you work with your team. Is there anything in the way that you communicate that's just different to how some of the big chains operate? Henry, great to have you here. You haven't had to come far, have you? You're a local.
Too easy.
Yeah, too easy.
Thank you very much for having me.
Oh, you're most welcome. You're most welcome. I mean, we don't know each other very well at all, but you are the owner of The Shed Fitness, and we sort of bump into you, and occasionally I just see you working out and helping people out, and love going down there. So Libby Carr is our trainer. Shout out to Libby. She's a legend. Does a great job. She really keeps us motivated and does an awesome job. So tell us about The Shed. What are you doing down there, and what's happening with that?
So The Shed's it's a personal training studio we've built over the years, starting myself and Harry, my business partner. We met in 2011, it would have been, two 20-year-olds trying to find their way. And then we started in a very small studio just over the railway from where we are now.
Yep. And
when I first met him, it was actually a neighbour of mine in Sydney. And he said, "Oh, you should come down and meet Harry." And this is when we moved down as a family. And I didn't think much of it. And then we decided, I better get in touch with him. So I met with him, and as two competitive 20-year-olds do,
yep,
we met over a workout. The story went 10 years later. We did this horrible workout. I crawled to my car, threw up, opened the door, got in the car, and never spoke that story again. We recited the story probably 8 years later.
Yep.
And I said, "Harry, you wouldn't believe what happened that first day we met." And he said, "What happened?" I said, "Well, I barely made it to the car, held my guts up, got in the car and took my sorry self home."
Yep.
And I said, "You wouldn't believe it. I did the exact same thing at the back of the gym." So yeah, two egos met there, and then and we slowly built this relationship. Made so many mistakes along the way in starting. We moved to our current location that you've been a part of in 2013. So August 2013 we moved there, and we built strength from strength. I think there's that classic old saying, overnight success takes 10 years kind of thing, and that's what it felt like for us. We started as a very small gym with very few members, and then it just took time, took mistakes, took lots of change to get to where we are now. And still, we're a very small business, but we're still, the concept's all growing. We've got a team that I'm super proud of in terms of the dynamics between Libby, who you've mentioned, all the other trainers there. She's fantastic.
Yep.
Emily, we've got Caitlin, we've got a variety of trainers, both males and females, and they all run their own little businesses within ours, and it's become a big part of everyone's life there.
So have you come up with that model where you've got trainers that are contractors, and that works for you well?
Yeah, great question. We had staff prior, and we had this massive issue where their skin wasn't in the game. We could tell they'd rock up late to sessions. You could just tell their programming was lazy. We knew they were better than that because they would train themselves with such enthusiasm, and we knew it was just an element of laziness. the money they could earn as contractors was so much more superior to what we could afford to pay them as staff. For the time, if they were on shift, for the time they were inactive, essentially, if they had a client that wasn't there, we were paying them to sit on their hands. So it wasn't advantageous for us. We looked at so many different options, what would work best for us, and it took a bit of time to come to where we are now. But what this means is they pay a small rental per PT session.
Yep.
And they can choose their own hours. They make a very decent salary from the work they do. And the skin's in the game. Like, the work they do with their clients is their reputation. But at the same time, most importantly, with the model we have, our clients pay a gym access fee to the shed.
Yep.
And then the PT session they conduct, they earn 90% of that, essentially.
Right.
And what that does is the PT keeps the client much longer term. As the data in our business suggests, a PT client will last about 5 years.
Yeah.
A gym access client who does no PT at all, no personal training, they'll last about 6 months.
Oh, okay.
So it's a significant change.
Totally.
So the secret for us is the PTs they deliver such excellence with their service.
Yep.
They tend to be the reason why our clients are staying so much longer.
Yeah.
And once they're in the gym, the actual work that Harry and I do is quite low maintenance. The client's happy, the trainers are occupied, and it starts to look after itself in a very self-sustainable fashion.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I've experienced that with Libby.
Yep.
She's very good, very passionate, does not let us off at all.
Yeah.
She goes hard when she needs to.
Yeah.
I think we've been through various things, age things. I had cranial surgery and the recovery process from that, and a couple of injuries. She's always mindful of those things, takes those things into account, and definitely thinks about things from a longer term. So she's very good at managing, where's this person at? How can I push them beyond their comfort zone, but still be mindful of things they might be wrestling with?
Yeah, and that's a perfect example. And I think it's important to probably ask someone like you the question, from your time at other gyms to what personal training delivers, would you say there's that element of care and support?
Absolutely.
And that's
100%.
Yeah.
Like, just that, I think the mindfulness of that individual's situations and what it is that they're wanting to have, as opposed to, ticking the box and doing 27 different things.
Exactly, yeah.
It definitely don't feel like you're in part of a process. You're in a program, but it's being built and adapted for you as you need to.
And customized, I suppose, is the
Absolutely,
important
100% customized. Personalized and customized, for sure.
And I think that's the standard that's been set amongst all the trainers. It's infectious.
Yeah.
You see one trainer doing one thing that clients have this enormous appreciation for, and the next trainer's following, and it kind of just lifts the standard every time. So yeah, I think whilst I might be as experienced as I am, you never stop learning, especially from some of the people who might be seeing new varieties of styles of training in the specifics of the business.
Yes.
They might be kind of unveiling new styles of training to us that we're all very willing to take on and learn. So we're all learning.
And do you think that helps build community? I know that's a big part of what you're doing there.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think in our business model, there's no competitiveness or toxicity like I've seen in other gyms. I think all the trainers are very, very happy we often share clients. If Libby's away, for example, she'll often reach out to Emily or myself and say, hey, would you guys be prepared to train Mark and Helen while I'm away? And there's no fear of, I could lose my client in this part. So in terms of community from the top, the trainers all get along excellently well. And we always try and engage on the floor in the gym. We'll always try and engage and bring other clients into conversation with the trainers.
Yeah.
And it creates this harmonious kind of atmosphere where everyone's enjoying the experience far more. People don't necessarily enjoy being in the gym all the time.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things that can make a bit more of a positive experience if you can have a laugh and have a chat whilst getting the work done.
But they seem to relate well with each other and help each other out. You see that, I see that connection, that doesn't seem to be that competitiveness that you often see.
Yeah.
Between trainers. Everyone seems to get on well and work together well.
Yeah.
I mean, that kind of culture in an organization doesn't happen by accident. Like, what are you doing around values and culture? What's your story on that space?
Well, look, I think Harry and I have, from the start, we've probably set these core values that we often reflect on and try and set a standard where there's no other way. Like, we would always induct a trainer from the beginning, and outline, we'll give them a trainer's handbook, and that kind of outlines what we expect in terms of, personally for me, I'm big on punctuality, I'm big on responsibility. So if they can follow that order in terms of make sure you're presentable, make sure you're dressed well, make sure you're showing up on time, showing up 10 minutes before your client session at least, don't never leave before your client leaves. These small notions that are just the standard.
Yeah.
And it kind of raises the bar. And as soon as the first person does it, the next person's afraid to break that rule, and it kind of makes all these commitments easier.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, everyone's in flow. Everyone's working well together. There's a synergy. There's a harmony with the way they all operate together. So yes, whilst they're running their own business, not staff, they're not competing against one another. They're still working together and collaborating.
Yeah.
In the same room. So
I do like that. The importance of running your company around an agreed set of values.
Yeah.
This is how we do things around here. Can make a massive difference. But it's often hard when people come in because they might be used to all sorts of different environments, under all sorts of different expectations around how they are to operate.
Yeah.
So how do you make sure that you're selecting right, getting the right people in?
Yep.
How do you manage that?
Great question. So I think at the shed, we've been very lucky where we've often hired internally. I'm not sure whether we've discussed this before, but it's one of those things where Libby's actually a rare exception. She submitted one of the most amazing resumes, and I was too interested to not know, so we had to pick up the phone and call her.
Yeah.
But a lot of the other trainers we've had have actually been members for several years.
Oh, great.
And my logic
Nice.
there,
So
and
they get it. Yeah.
they totally get it, but they've put their hard-earned money into our product because they believe in it. So if they're prepared enough to make that career change, shift their lifestyle, and put back into what they have initially paid for, well, tell me more. Like that's they're interested.
Yeah.
So they're subscribing to the core values. They're subscribing to the passion of the industry. They're obviously conscious of their health. So these things all lean towards the same outcome. But in terms of trying to keep the trainers in check with what our core values are, when we first hire a trainer, we'll always have an induction meeting. And then for the first 12 weeks, we'll do the first 6 week a weekly meeting.
Yeah.
And then after that, we'll do quarterly meetings on their inception, just to see how they're traveling. I've got some simple kind of rules that I always set out for them while they're starting. I always try and maintain the 40-hour week rule, even if they only have 2 clients a week.
Yeah.
That only might be an hour, but spend the other hours in the gym on your learning, make yourself present, train in the gym, show your face, help someone out in the gym to some capacity, make yourself present. So, and that they all have really good reception to that. Once that standard's set, they don't seem to shift too far from that mark.
Managing expectations, isn't it? I
Definitely.
think just that, what's the expectation of how I should operate in this environment?
Yeah.
And then when people see it, you obviously live it as well. And there's no inconsistency between the way you operate and what you're asking other people to do.
Yeah.
Which I think is an important part as well.
Yeah, I think all the trainers they set personally a very high standard with their own passion in the industry.
Yes.
And it doesn't make it hard. If you're delivering what you preach genuinely, it's a very easy job.
Yeah.
And it really comes from the heart. So
it's not complex then.
exactly right. Exactly right.
Exactly right. For sure. And what about your own fitness journey? So you're obviously well-presented human.
Yeah.
And how did you get into fitness things in the first place?
So it's a good question, actually. I as a kid, I was always a little bit overweight and very self-conscious of that. I'd hate to go on holidays and take my shirt off. I'd always be kind of conscious of that. So I remember one funny story with my brother. We were living in Sydney at the time, and we went for he said, we've got to go out for a run. And I was probably at the height of my, I was probably just prior to a growth spurt.
Yeah.
To put it politely.
Okay.
I was full of puppy fat and I was very lazy in all honesty. And we went for a run, and I reckon I ran 300 meters.
Yeah.
And he got frustrated with me. And that's when the penny dropped. I think I need to change this. And I was avoiding it because I wasn't very fit. I was very sporty in terms of, I loved rugby. I loved cricket growing up.
Yeah.
But I just had this period in my life where I was probably lacking confidence. Therefore, I didn't participate as much as I should have. And then I think that really flicked a spark in me, that run, and I became somewhat obsessed. I remember going back to boarding school probably a few months after and approaching one of the coaches there.
Yeah.
and it really set a standard. I started following these programs to a T, and I saw progress. And I think as soon as I saw progress, I became more and more motivated and driven by it. And I think that probably relates to a lot of things in my life. If I've seen some kind of tangible result from something, I'd be like a dog with a bone. So I'd keep persevering. And then I finished school, and then I had an offer to do exercise science in Sydney. And I pursued the personal training career because it meant I was hands-on and still in the gym and still seeing things unfold. But in those early days, I was still playing rugby. I moved down to the Highlands.
Yeah. Just for clarity, like real rugby?
Real rugby union, yeah. Rugby league doesn't live in the world.
We're going to be great friends.
Yeah, we will. Yeah. No, we're in safe hands here.
I'm a Kiwi. We don't do anything else.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What is rugby league?
No.
So yeah, I was educated in Sydney, and we had a big rugby background there, and then moved down here, and we played for the local club, Bowral, and then played for a few rep sides through Illawarra, through country rugby, and then COVID hit, and I hurt my hip in 21. It would have been, so just after COVID, and that was more or less the last game of rugby I played. I didn't go back again, and then from there it became like I got to this point, what do I do? I had to scratch this itch. What's going to tickle the box for me? And I didn't have any competitive form of exercise in my life for the first time in probably 12 years. So that's when I found things like 5K runs, half marathons, timed events that I could list a time, compete, and try and beat it again. You might have seen Libby and Em's success in High Rocks. We've all collectively found this is a sport where we can all compete.
And you've done quite well, haven't you?
Yeah, I mean, like for a little gym in a rural town, we're punching well above our weight. That's for sure. I think Libby and Em went to Worlds, competed in the Elite 15 in Chicago last year. Myself and Harry qualified for Worlds. His wife had a baby at the same time, so we didn't participate in that. But it's still recognition for some of the effort you do. And then you've got all the other trainers have competed very well and placed very, very respectably in the field.
Right. There's something happening in the shed.
Yeah. I don't know what's in the water of the shed.
Best in the world.
Exactly. So
that's good.
And I mean, it's become a bit of a passion. So I think from here, I'm now 34, so the game of competitive exercise is definitely dulling down, but training for longevity is now a huge passion. And that's one of the shed's core values that makes it feel so real, that what will help me grow old in that marginal decade, in the last 10 years of my life, what will help me get to that period in the best shape possible.
Yeah, I love that. So we had Josh Sparks on here. He was a bit of an expert in that area. Great guy in the health spans.
Yeah.
I'm in my early 60s.
Yeah.
And I've been really kind of interested in that space, particularly for the last 10 years, on how do you maintain that, but doing it at 30, fantastic.
Yeah.
Like being mindful of those things that are going to help your longevity and your health span.
Yeah.
Is super, super important.
And I mean, it's probably unfair, but the education that I have available, there's absolutely no excuse that we shouldn't be doing it at our age.
That is true.
And it's made our job easy, in all honesty, because I've got several clients, and I'm sure you're in that same field. You've had education like Josh speaking to you and telling you this information. What's the first thing you do? You go and call a gym and go, I better get stuck into some strength training.
Yeah.
So it's immediate kind of validation for science supporting what is going to help us grow old healthy, and it's front and center for everyone.
Particularly muscle mass built in your 30s and 40s can take you a long way.
Massively, yeah. It can really protect you from lots of degenerative conditions as well. So.
Absolutely, yeah. Just mortality rates are incredibly impacted by those sort of disciplines.
Yeah.
So you have this sort of transformation experience, big passion of yours, and then the two of you got together and got into the business.
Yeah.
Is that the passion that really drives what you're doing, seeing people transformed in a similar way, or what are the passions that really drive your?
That's a great question, because I think at the start, when I first started personal training, I loved working with people that were probably high performance young athletes that were more relatable in my field at the time. So at the time, I was really motivated by rugby and progressing to higher levels. So having kids just a bit younger than me that were at the same point, I could see potential in them immediately because I knew what it looked like, and seen lots of kids my age do that. And I felt like it was just an easy key to unlock, an easy door to unlock, should I say, if they had this potential. Why can't we just explore X, Y, and Z to push them to whatever their goals were, whether it was athletics, sprinting, rugby, football, jumping, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
It felt like there was lots of potential. And then as I kind of grew older, I had more wisdom about me in terms of, it was just experience too. I saw these older people at 50, 60, and they would be saying, "Oh, my joints hurt. I feel I'm getting older." And that's when I really had this passion for how can we help these people grow older, healthier. And I'll use one of my dearest favorite clients, Julie, who I've trained for 13 years now. She came to me as a 66-year-old, and she was told she had the brittleness of a 90-year-old in her bones. The osteoporosis was so severe. And I obviously approached with caution and a bit of hesitation and contacted a doctor and got a bit of advice from them. And we embarked on a 3-day training program, just Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We didn't break any records whatsoever. It was just simple, basic strength movement. And along the year, she's had her bone density scans done and always been in touch with the doctor. And she's now 78, and she has the brittleness of a 70-year-old.
Good on her.
So it's one of those, and she moves brilliantly. She gets by,
Right.
and she doesn't love the gym. We have great conversations each session about food and the weekends and what she's going to do and what sport I've been watching, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But she has no pain. She moves well. She has the occasional fall and gets up.
Yeah.
Whereas Julie of 13 years ago has the occasional fall. That can be catastrophic.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Fall at that age when you're not in good shape is
the data's damning. I think there was a stat that if you break your hip, pelvis, or femur, after the age of 60, you have a 1 in 3 chance of dying within 12 months.
Yeah.
So due to the surgical procedure.
Crazy stat. I've heard that too. Yeah. It's pretty wild.
And then other factors of muscle mass in terms of, once you hit 40, you're in a decline where you'll lose about 7% of your muscle mass per decade up until 70, and then it jumps to 13%. So the likelihood, unless you're training and trying to preserve some muscle, you're on a very steady decline. So get training out there, guys.
Yeah, exactly. My mindset on this is I've got 20 good summers.
There you go. Look at
So
that.
I need to maximize that.
Yeah.
It's not even about living for longer, really. It's just in having the health span, and then we all deteriorate. There's a day we're not going to be here, but that journey being as
maintain the quality of life, and that's that marginal decade that I mentioned before. Like those last 10 years of your life, you don't want to be 10 years in bed. You want to be 10 years out there with your grandkids doing whatever. So
it obviously made a massive difference in her life, and that's what really gets you out of bed in the morning is doing that, helping people.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, and seeing the other trainers do the same thing, and that's from a probably hands-on deck experience. Whereas I suppose looking at the scale of the business, that's probably another passion that lies beside. Like Harry, myself, we've had the business for 13 years. We've definitely toyed with, where do we go? Like, do we try and push this thing to several locations? Do we scale online, which we can categorically say that's not our passion. We really like me personally, we have a great dynamic, Harry and I, where I'm very happily the people person or the face of the business, and Harry's very much the operations of the business. He's fastidious about every detail behind closed doors, and I'm very happy to be the kind of social networking. We have this really good balance there. Yeah, and I mean, over the years,
those complementary skills.
Yeah, and we're very lucky. We just kind of fell into place like that. But I mean, at the beginning, it took time to find this out, and it took every mistake, every argument, every debate.
Sure.
Like I'm sure most business partners do.
Partnerships are tricky to navigate sometimes.
Yeah.
We have complementary skills, funnily enough.
Yeah.
Because you have a different approach, which is good if you've got a safe environment and you can work through those things together.
Yeah.
But if you're both different, and then there can often be a lot of conflict if you don't manage as well.
Yeah.
So it's good to have the.
And to be fair, we have had our disagreements, but they've always come. We've come out the other side with such, I suppose, clarity and knowing what our vision is, because we don't say these things without positive or passion behind what we're trying to achieve out of it.
Yeah.
And if we have a disagreement, we're putting our argument on the table.
Right.
But we'll always come to a resolution. I think our relationship's the best it's ever been over a 15-year period, which
That's great.
it's encouraging. And I suppose that's why we have these conversations now. How do we grow the business? Do we keep pushing on now that we're on stable ground?
Yeah.
And not that we were never on stable ground, but I mean, there was a lot more probably turbulence, I suppose, in terms of can we tee this business off to go bigger and better?
Absolutely.
And Harry moved to Kingscliff, which is probably, 700 k's north.
Yeah.
Looking at the opportunity to open another gym there.
Okay.
And credit to him, he moved his family up there for a year, sussed the area out for a year, and kind of came home and said, it's probably not the right place for what we're trying to achieve.
Right.
So that's a sacrifice that he made.
Yeah.
At the expense of trying to grow the business.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I was hands on deck down here, trying to, and we had such a good team at the moment. Like we didn't have to do too much different for it to just run smoothly.
Sure.
And that's what I felt like we're doing. We're just holding on until we had a resolution with the other business or the other opportunity.
Yeah.
And yeah, it didn't turn to be, but it's that old saying. I feel like the opportunity is knocked quietly and comfort's banging loudly.
100%. That's very true.
Yeah.
So given that, what's next for you and the business?
That's a great question. I would love to repeat what we've done, and it's just itching away at us. We really want to try and put this model to another town. We're very lucky. Like, to give context, Barrel is a very affluent population with a slightly older demographic.
Yeah.
So the way I perceive it is there's probably a lot of debt-free money where people are more prepared to spend. And I've got to be mindful with how we approach this business model. Personal training, which is the core income of the business, is obviously a luxury expense. If people are tightening their wallets, they're looking at dinners out, luxury items, shopping.
Yep.
Gym membership's really high in the order, and you'd have to put personal training as an ultimate luxury
Which
expense.
is counterintuitive when you're going back to our lifespan experience, but it's an easy thing to put a line through. That's true.
Yeah, I would obviously be.
Yes.
I would say it should be a priority.
Yeah.
But I do understand that people say, look, I can go for a walk free of charge.
Yeah.
Or I could pay X amount to go and do a personal training session. So it really does depend what you value.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think if we could find the right spot in Sydney, in a bigger city, I think the business, and that's, I'm really determined to give that a crack. I think
The right demographic.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it'll take a bit of research to find where we go. Wait to see what can pop up, and I'm sure between the passion and I suppose between me and Harry, we've got this appetite for success. When we want to do something, I'm really confident we can get it done.
Put your parameters into AI and say which area should we be in.
Exactly. Yeah. So the location, the trainers we can source, and we'd love to take our team we've got now. We're going to grow the team in terms of and know their buy-in. We'll always do a meeting every 6 months with all the trainers, see where they're at, make sure they've got no like short to medium term plans.
Yeah.
Before we can action these kind of big plans.
Yeah.
Whether we build a business, we just want to know what the current feet on ground.
So definitely scalable, but from an organic plant with some of the existing people into a new environment that's similar.
Exactly.
Nice.
And what I've been doing in the last few months, I've tried to identify and handpick some great personalities that are similar age to me, but they've got other careers.
Yeah.
And I can just see the passion they've got for the industry, for their own health, which to me it's a hallmark for they will be great in this industry.
Pretty core, isn't it? Like you've got
Very
to really
much
have to have that.
It's primal. I think it's one of those things where if they wake up every morning and they know they want to go train.
Yeah.
I think it speaks volumes.
Yeah, that's not me.
Well, Libby will make you that.
She's been working on me.
She's whipping you into gear.
She's doing all right. Raw material is a little hard to work with, but she's doing a good job, I think.
So yeah, I've got probably 2 or 3 people I've been discussing with, and I've reached out to. They've got to be qualified, so I've reached out to the education groups and tried to get them qualified. And this is all with something further in mind.
Yeah,
like we could have a surplus of trainers if these guys were all qualified, and we don't open a new gym.
Yeah,
but I think long term, I'd love to have that and have these guys available. And they love the model, they love the business, they've been in the business, so I feel like they're good candidates for it.
It does make sense to me because I think when you're expanding and growing, it's not just about moving the process or the system or even the business model. It's like, how do you transfer that DNA as well? You know, you talked about the values that are important to you and to your people, managing the high performance people in a particular way, getting the right people around you. It's not only the model and the process, it's also that DNA as well.
I love the way the phrase DNA to that, because that's exactly what it would be.
Yeah, because you want a little piece of you over there that replicates what you've done in Barrel.
Yeah. The that concept, because it'd be very hard if I went and put out an ad for a personal trainer local in Sydney, but they don't really have any, like you say, the DNA of the shed, which that is what we want. We want someone who truly cares about their clients, who follows our core values, integrity, support, longevity, the things that mean a lot to us. And I think it would go a long way to see them if they think they could match those core values while they're delivering personal training.
And also having, you know, you talked about moving some people from the existing into new. I think that's good because they've experienced it.
Yeah.
It's become a part of who they are and they've contributed to that. So when you're transplanting, you really are definitely taking all that experience as well as the knowledge.
Yeah. I think our goal would be to, with all this in mind, we'd love to try and build on the scalability of the business.
Yeah.
And I think myself, my biggest issue is, whilst I love leading from the front, I'll always try and be the first one in the gym. I'll always try and set a really good standard. It can be my kryptonite in terms of, I have less time now to do everything else because I've put my hands in the business or my feet on the floor, and it makes it hard to focus on the bigger picture.
Yeah.
Whereas if I could take a bit more time back, delegate better, my delegation skills could be better, and that's saying that it would give me more opportunity to scale the business.
Sure.
We'd love to make it a more scalable business, and if myself and Harry are entirely hands on the business, it makes it hard to create a model like this that's a scalable asset.
You have to create something where it doesn't need you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's
and I think, but codifying your DNA as far as the way that you articulate the values, how those behaviors are related to that, and making sure that's in part of the selection process, the induction process, people are rewarded on it, or you know, that trying to take who you are and what you brought to the business and put it into the process and systems and the way that it's communicated and adopted is really the way you can scale that.
Yeah.
But it's hard because it's, at the moment, it's you. You've done some things around the values, obviously, in the way that you operate, but a lot of it will be caught from you as opposed to taught.
Yeah, correct.
And trying to make that transition for scale is a little tricky.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right the way you said that. If we can plug all those core values into the model of the business, I think that's the approach that we need to really action well.
Yeah.
What
else do you do around you've got a high performance team. These are very competitive, active, driven people. What else do you do? You said you get them together once every period of time just to hear where they're at and what they're doing. What else do you do?
Well, I suppose the whole concept of high performance to me lies in the consistency, just people's ability to show up day after day. It's not necessarily sexy, but it really shows dividends. And the people that can endure that are the ones to me that really show the high performance, whether they're in the business or whether they're clients. I can see a lot more potential in those that can continue to show up on the good days, the bad days, and the days in between. But collectively as a group, we'll always, as a group of trainers, and we'll always do a workout together every Thursday.
Okay.
And it's just one requirement that I ask of all the trainers.
Yeah.
Block out an hour and a half, 2 hours on a Thursday lunchtime, which is usually a quiet time of the day. We all do a workout together.
Yeah.
We rotate who's responsible for
a little bit of the one-upmanship and who's doing what.
Dangerous. It becomes a dangerous game.
I'm sure.
If Mark writes a program this week and I've got to write the next week, I'm trying to make it harder. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Note
to self: don't go to the gym on a
Thursday. Stay away at midday. We'll always train together. That's a very good time of inherent bonding. You don't appreciate it at the time until you kind of reflect back on it.
Super important.
We always take those moments as some of our best time spent together, and then we'll always have lunch together on a Thursday. The first Friday of every month, we always get together as a group of trainers and we take them all out for lunch. And again, we try not to discuss anything work related. It's more what you do in your spare time, because otherwise we can be very guilty of, there's a lot of hustle and bustle in the morning of what's going on, who needs to be doing this, who's doing that. And it can also be perceived the wrong way if we've got intent, we're being deliberate, we're trying to move fast.
Yeah.
And we don't want to ruffle feathers for the wrong reason.
Sure.
So we try and spend that time on a Friday just playing catch-ups.
Yeah.
So it's just a nice way to finish the week. And everyone can kind of unwind. So it's a nice.
Good leaders do create relationship.
Yeah.
And every one of those trainers is going to be different motivators, they'll have some commonalities, but they'll be different. There'll be nuances on what's important to them, what stage of life they're at, what they're doing. And I think good leaders connect in a way where they treat people slightly differently based on where they're coming from, what's important to them.
That is such a great point. And that's saying that I probably wouldn't have put my finger on, but I'd always approach each of the trainers differently.
Yeah.
In terms of how I'd bring something up, whether it's a conversation about saying, whether it's an issue they're having. Like I'll always approach it differently based on their personality, based on their strengths, their weaknesses. But yeah, that's a very, very good point.
That's a great. If you're doing that intuitively, that's fantastic.
Yeah, well, I suppose that's
it's a good leadership trait.
Yeah,
I think
that's something that I didn't really think of that way. But yeah, they're all different people, and they all have different things make them all tick.
Totally. Just thinking about your business as a whole, you're competing with a lot of sort of named brand big chains. How do you differentiate yourself? Obviously, the community piece is good. The way that you've set up, the way that you work with your team. Is there anything in the way that you communicate that's just different to how some of the big chains operate?
That is a great question. And I think that comes down to, like you say, community has to be the key word. Like the support, again, going back to a core value, support is something that we will offer in spades in terms of communication with our clients. Our member attendance rate is very high for most gyms.
Great sign.
Yeah, well, I think most gyms, like your Anytime Fitnesses and commercial gyms, they sit lower than the 30%.
Well, some of them deliberately in their business models do that because you have more members.
Yeah, well, that's damning data there.
Yeah.
And I mean, the part that I suppose gives us the integrity to know that we're really harnessing the community is we never have contracts. So our gyms never had anything lock in. Would hate to say to someone, you sign up for a year. Like if you're not enjoying it after week 1, they don't want to see me after week 2. So that's if they want out, they're more than welcome to be out.
Yeah.
And that's massive. That gives so many people peace of mind.
So there's competitive advantage in that, isn't there, as far as being able to get people to come in and try? And
absolutely.
Yeah.
Get in and try. And it's funny, I think the psychology goes, like if you're locked into a year, people are thinking, I can't wait for that year to roll around to cancel my membership. But if they're just rolling week by week, they don't feel bound and they're happy to stay for, like I said before, our PT clients are here for 5+ years.
Yeah.
Julie, who I mentioned before, she's been a member for 13 years. So it's support of us, it's support of our community, and it's saying that our business relies on. Like it's been massive for us. And I think in comparison to some of the major gyms, the fact that you can walk into our gym and most clients know the other clients' names, and then we'll always know, I'll know Libby, I know Mark and Helen as one of Libby's clients. It's just a great example. All the other trainers will communicate with other clients. And such a beautiful community in that sense. So that makes it super attractive, especially for the locals of the business, locals of the gym in terms of members. They're just so kind of, it's refreshing for them to see familiar faces.
Yeah.
And to see people who know their name and smile at them and say,
well, everyone's very friendly and cordial, and you don't have the usual kind of gym dynamics.
Which can be quite toxic, to be honest. Like,
yeah, absolutely. We've been coming for a few years now. We've been down here for about 3 years.
Yeah.
And Libby's good. Like Helen and I train together. It's kind of an odd thing in some ways because we've got different needs, different things, but she manages to sort of flex her way around that and builds programs. We have individual programs, but they're kind of concurrent.
They coincide, yeah.
And they coincide, we're using the same things, different weights, whatever.
Yeah.
And she manages that really, really well. Doesn't seem to miss a beat.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Yeah, no, they're all little dynamos, the trainers. They know exactly what they're doing. Yeah, that's a great way to describe it. And they're all very knowledgeable and very, very grateful for that. But like you say, I think most clients appreciate that, and that's what they're coming for. They're coming for that support element, and I think that differentiates us quite a bit. That's our biggest point.
Nice. Can I move on to another topic? I mean, you and I met through. I mean, we obviously saw you in the gym, and I'm like, one day I want to look like that. But we sort of bumped into each other and said hi and whatever. And then my youngest daughter, who's in her mid-20s, got diabetes, diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. And for whatever reason, we knew that you had gone through a similar sort of experience. And I know Helen connected with you, and very grateful for the way you were able to share some of your experience with her and be able to sort of unpack your journey around diabetes, which was massively useful for her as she's kind of figuring out what's going on, quite rocked by that news and how to navigate those things. So I really appreciate you taking the time and sharing some of your story. How old were you when that happened for you?
So I was 22, so I'm 34 now, so it was 12 years ago.
Yeah.
And similar to Alexis, it was a huge shock. I was 4 years into my PT career, and I had a huge passion in nutrition, in my training. I was looking at everything I ate prior to that. I was training regularly. I was playing a lot of rugby. All signs were kind of pointing towards a healthy life. And then my father had passed away quite suddenly that April. This was August in 2014. I didn't feel like I was particularly stressed or necessarily grieving in a.
It's a huge thing, though, isn't it?
It is, yeah. It must be. Like it's one of those things that whilst I was showing up at work and I felt like I was returning back to normality after he passed away, and then quite suddenly. Sorry, I remember I had a bug where I was throwing up for a while, and the first symptom was I just couldn't recover. I was super thirsty, and I just didn't know what was happening. So I remember I took a few hydrolytes to my brother and said, I think I fixed it. I had a few hydrolytes. That dehydration may have gone. It hadn't. I just kept drinking, kept peeing, and these are all classic symptoms of type 1 diabetes.
Yeah.
And so I'd done a little bit of research, and I kind of came to the conclusion was, I think I've got type 1 diabetes. So I reluctantly booked a doctor's appointment the next day to face the news, and he did a finger prick test at the time, and he said, you need to get to hospital ASAP.
Wow.
And that's when I realized it was a bit more of an issue than I'd been treating it. So I went to hospital, and they basically talked me through it. They gave me my insulin that night, first dose, and kind of explained to me, you'll get used to this. You'll be injecting yourself multiple times a day for every meal you have, and when you go to bed, you'll be having another dose of insulin. And I couldn't really wrap my head around it. I knew loosely, I'd seen kids at school who had type 1 diabetes, but I just didn't appreciate the enormity it has. Like every decision you're making around what you eat, where you're going, have you got sugar with you? Are you taking your insulin with you? Have you had enough insulin before bed? Are you checking your blood sugars in the night? Are there alarms going off at night? There's just so many decisions you now make as a diabetic that you never thought were real. Like you never thought it was going to completely lift your life upside down and flip it on its head. So I was in the hospital kind of ruminating on all this stuff, thinking, oh, I've got this. I love hard things. I can make this work. And I remember Mum came into me.
Sort out mode, yeah.
Yeah. And Mum came into the hospital room. She was so upset, and she said, I wish it was me, not you. I looked at her and I said, Mum, I think I'm actually quite a good candidate for this. Like everything in my life's geared towards health and fitness. And I said, Mum, if it was you wouldn't be able to enjoy a glass of wine again. So I think it's better me than you. So yeah, I took it in my stride as best I could. It took me a few weeks to kind of get the hang of it. There was a honeymoon period where it was a bit easier to manage at the start, and where I was still producing a bit of insulin naturally. And then as I kind of got into the pattern of life beyond that honeymoon period, it definitely became easier. And I think technology these days has really helped the use of it. And so in the gym, I can track my blood glucose while I'm on my phone. Even it's all readily available, which before I was always pricking my finger to test it. So it's been a huge learning process, but it's saying that I wouldn't change it. It sounds weird. I wouldn't change the diagnosis because I've learnt so much from it, and I've learnt to do hard things better. And it's been a
But
good,
it's challenging, isn't it?
yeah, it's seriously challenging. And I'm sure Alexis will vouch for in that sense. It just adds so much complexity to every layer of your life, but it's, I don't know, it's something that you get used to. I'd feel very weird now not taking my insulin in the morning, put it that way. So,
I think she's found the same thing, just the sort of all-encompassing nature of it.
yeah.
Right? You need to constantly be thinking about how the different things in your environment are going to change what your experience on that.
Yeah.
She's now gone for a pump.
Yep.
She's gone down that track, which she's found quite good.
Yeah. I think it's the best way of management of pump for sure.
Yeah.
And
Have you done that?
I look, I haven't. I originally didn't because I use sport as my excuse.
Yeah.
I'd be always taking this, removing the pump and all that kind of stuff. But then I think about it long and hard. It's more the vanity. I'm happy with my Dexcom or my CGM. But then anything beyond that, it becomes, people look at me and go, you are a diabetic. And
Sure.
and I don't mind that necessarily, but it's definitely, if I can manage it well through NDI, so manual daily injections, like I'm more than happy to go that route because it's just a little less invasive. It makes me feel a little bit more normal. But look, it's subjective. The pump is the elite management.
Yeah.
It's essentially having a pancreas on the outside of your body. So it's doing the work for you.
Yeah, she's opted that way. I've got 3 brothers. Number 2. I'm number 1. He's number 2.
Yeah.
He got it in his late 30s.
Yeah.
Similar to you though, had like a virus and something triggered something, and had a she wasn't well, and then went and got the sort of the shock diagnosis. But he's like you, actually trained to be physical. He ran gyms.
That's right. I remember Helen saying
he's fit, and his wife is into the whole nutritional type space as well. So they're like super fit couple. And same thing, but very, very late for type 1.
Very.
So he did some of the initial, he was a candidate of one of the initial, where they're putting pig cells in. So he was one of the original candidates for that, did all that.
And he's had that done?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So he was one of the first ones, maybe, 15 years ago, something like that.
Yeah.
But he's like you, very disciplined, hasn't gone pump either. He likes to really manage it. Yeah. And same thing though, very encompassing, but it's become a part of his life. And he was very stoic about it. He's got lots of good character. He's a good guy.
Yeah.
And I think he's managed it very, very well.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to be life. My sort of, I'm not. So looking in from the outside, my sort of view is absolutely impacts all the way things you have to think about. It's going to take, it's something that'll be there for your whole life, and that's very, very challenging.
Yeah.
But manageable if you have the discipline and
absolutely,
and the aptitude and the attitude to.
Yeah, you couldn't have said it better.
Take it on.
Like, you couldn't have said it better. I think it weaponizes you, but it doesn't define you.
Yeah.
Like I have the knowledge and the skills to manage it, and obviously, like you said, the discipline, and I'm determined to do that. But it definitely doesn't define me. I think it could define me if it became a constant health battle.
Sure.
But until then, I'll happily take it as.
It's an important distinction, isn't it? You're not defined by it, but it builds character and does that.
Absolutely, yeah. It's a great way to look at it. Yeah, it's been. And it's funny, my wife and then even Harry, my business partner, the two that most, if I'm a bit unsure or a bit irrational, I'm sure Alexis will agree with this before she was on the pump, I would make irrational decisions out of frustration. I'd think I need to have more insulin here or have more sugar here, and to have that peace of mind from people equally knowledgeable by virtue of watching this disease unfold in Harry and my wife, Ayana. They can give me very sound advice, and it's comforting because they know equally as much about the diseases as I do on a bad day. So it's really nice.
Yeah. Helen's done the whole deep dive super mum thing.
Oh, absolutely.
Has learned everything.
Yeah. When I spoke to Helen, it was like I was speaking to an endocrinologist. She'd done every bit of detail. It was amazing.
She deep dived on the whole thing.
Yeah.
And we have an acquaintance, Michelle, who's on one of the big boards around this. She came down and had lunch with us.
Oh, nice.
And talked us through a lot of stuff. And the lady who runs the medical side of where Alexis is getting her help
treatment
is the daughter of a friend of ours as well. So she's been surrounded by
Yeah.
Some amazing people. And the doctor himself was absolute phenomenon. Just nothing was too difficult.
Yeah.
Super patient. Like, ring me for this, ring me for that. Like, very undoctor-like.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
So she has been surrounded by some amazing people that really helped her on her
journey. I think the support network is massive too.
Yeah.
Like that's something I will say. I've always been just so well supported. Like similarly to Alexis, great doctors, great endos.
Yeah.
My family have been amazing. Work's been amazing. Like it's at the time, clients were always very supportive of it.
Yeah.
And then obviously Ayana, she's amazing. She's always very patient when things aren't ideal for me. Whether it's if I'm having a hypo, she'll always be supportive. She'll always factor it in if we're making a decision of where we are, where we're traveling.
Okay.
She'll always be considerate of, right, can he do that as a diabetic kind of thing? So yeah, it's great.
Love it. That's good. Surrounding yourself with good people, it's a broader concept too, isn't it? Do you, we just talk a little bit about how do you sort of manage life? You've got that going on. You got business going on. That's crazy busy. Lots of things happening there. You've got a family. How do you manage those things? Is having good people in your world, is that part of how you manage that?
That's a great question. I think like obviously super, super busy time-wise in the gym. And you know what? I'd have to say some of the closest people to me these days are my clients.
Yeah.
Like they're such a big part of my life. They know every bit of detail about me. I see them often once, twice, 3 times, 5 times a week.
Yeah.
And then obviously my peers, like the training group, we all sing from the same hymn sheet, so to speak. They're such brilliant people. And I suppose that the old adage of the 5 closest people to you you're a result of them.
Yeah.
So I think to see these guys that we live and breathe with as my closest friends as well, we often find ourselves doing activities in our spare time as well. So Ayana, my wife, she's currently 16 weeks pregnant. We've got all these other things looming, which is very exciting. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And we've got all these other things looming. So we've got lots of activities, lots of hobbies. We do both love to travel, love to eat out. So we
We're going out tonight. We're going out to dinner tonight.
exactly.
I've met
Yeah,
dinner tonight.
that's really fun. Yeah.
Yeah, very good.
Yes, we'll eat out tonight. We often find restaurants we'll try and go to. We go up to Sydney quite often. So I think it's important for us as well to try and park work as best we can.
Nice.
Because I think running a business, you'll know, Mark, it's one of those things where you never stop ticking. Like you're always thinking in the back of your mind about the next decision or where you are. So if you can kind of compartmentalize to some capacity, I think it's a really good skill to carry you forward for that term of longevity in a business.
Definitely.
Whereas if you're burning out after a year because you're so hyper invested. I mean, some people do have that. I tip my hat to them. I don't have that kind of endurance in mental stamina.
Nobody really does.
Yeah.
I don't think.
Yeah,
They'll burn out eventually.
Yeah, that's interesting because it's one of those things that I can proudly say I don't have that endurance. I love to have diversity in my year, so to speak. I'll always try and accommodate 4 or 5 weeks of the year to try and travel with my wife. We just love doing that. It's kind of what makes us happy.
Yeah.
And then beyond that, it's friends, it's family. I'm very close with my family.
Nice.
We all live very close in terms of my sister, my brother, my mother. We're all in the Southern Highlands, so we're quite lucky in that sense.
Yeah. I immigrated, solved all those family issues.
There you go. No one can bother you.
That's right. They're all coming over for the wedding. Peter's getting married in May.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah, so they're all
where's he married?
All the Kiwis will be turning up, which will be great.
In May.
Yeah,
that's good. Luckily, it's before the Bledisloe, so they can't get a piece of us just yet.
Exactly.
Before the World Cup, before Bledisloe.
Exactly. You're also involved in a lot of diabetic related community organizations as well. I see you're raising money and doing a few things in that space.
Yep.
Is that a big part of what you do?
It is. I really, really enjoy that part. We've done, over the years we've had lots of support from great clients. This is, again, going into that community aspect of the gym. We've had such great support from lots of clients in terms of contacts we've done the Black Dog, we've done Diabetes Australia, we've done several charities donating to local charities too. Just recently we did the 4K charity, which helps infrastructure for special needs in kids. And the last event we did was a wonderful event. It was an ultra marathon event where we did a 5K run every hour.
Okay.
For 24 hours.
That's so wrong.
So 120 kilometers.
That's right.
Went through the night. It was saying completely different. So,
Yeah.
but we managed to raise a great amount of money for them. We've supported something that you'll probably love and appreciate too. We've done a great charity for a wonderful client who tragically lost their daughter during COVID. And we were trying to get behind the family as best we could in a period where the gym was closed. It was a really, really tough time for their family, and the daughter who'd passed away, she'd just finished school and spent some time in Thailand with elephants. So we decided to raise some money for the family first and foremost, and then second to raise some money for a passion of hers, which was an elephant in Chiang Mai. It was an elephant support network, so they could try and house as many elephants safely and keep them happy living healthily. So it was one of those
A great thing to do.
it was one of those moments that just filled our cup, because we knew
Moving,
it was massively moving, because the family was so supportive of it. The whole community at the time it was such rocking, devastating news that you just want to do what you can to put your arm out. So everyone at the shed, God bless, they were so supportive of the family, and to be fair, a lot of the people knew them prior, so it wasn't hard for them to relate to the situation. The family were clients, the kids were clients, so there's the least we could have done to give back to the community. So, and then prior to that, we'd done a few other events we'd done charity days in the gym where we do silent auctions and half price sessions, just a bit of fun on the days, barbecues, all that kind of stuff. And then I've done a few different charity events such as skydiving and marathon running where I'd be raising money. So the most recent one I did was the Berlin Marathon.
Okay.
And that was a great event to do. Managed to raise about $10,000, and then the New York Marathon was raising money for a US diabetes charity called Beyond Type 1.
Okay.
So I managed to raise $17,000 for that.
Amazing.
And again, primarily supported by the members of the gym.
Yeah.
So Little Old Barrel, again.
Community.
Yeah, the community
Punching
feel.
above its way to the
Exactly right. So, and that was a great event to go to. So yes, I feel spoiled because I'm doing these great worldly things to try and support a charity, but it feels like I'm ticking off some personal passions as well as some
I love it.
Some charities close to my heart.
And you'd be a great role model and ambassador for people who have, particularly I think, going into the experience of diabetes, or families who are seeing their kids go through that. To have someone like you functions really well, high performing, doing really well, building great business, great relationships, all those things. That's a wonderful role model to have in that kind of environment.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. It's a fun one because I've often toyed with the idea, well, not toyed with, I'm very, very determined to post PT career. I'm not going to be a PT forever necessarily, but I'd love to become a diabetes educator, and that'll be my next venture in terms of study. I'd really love to embark on a degree in that field. Whilst I will always be passionate about health and exercise, so that'll come quite organically to me whilst I can hopefully pursue a career in education in diabetes, because it's something that I'm learning every day.
Do both?
Exactly. There's no harm in both, I suppose.
Yeah.
But no day is the same for a diabetic. That's one thing I will say. And it's one of those things that you can't really, whilst there is so many great educators out there, the ones that are living with the disease day to day, it's just a lot easier to resonate with them. So I've had so many clients in the gym, whether it's an identity or not, I'm not sure, but they would reach out to me as a diabetic, just seeking some advice, some help with exercise, and how they can integrate that into their routine.
Yeah.
And it's very safe.
Yeah.
If you can approach in that way, there's no reason you can't live a normal, healthy life. I remember I was warned by a few people that once you're diagnosed with diabetes, nothing will be the same. And yes, it's true to a degree, but there's not much that's changed in my life, except that I've got a few new colourful pens that I inject myself with, and that's about it.
Yeah.
So
yeah, well, that's a wonderful example, I think, and a great point of hope for people that are going through that.
Yeah.
And probably a nice way to finish off today. Henry, absolute pleasure to spend some time with you. Like, we didn't know each other at all. I've really, really enjoyed the conversation. Really looking forward to going out dinner.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Mark.
It's my pleasure.
Absolute pleasure.
And if you're in the Southern Highlands, the Shed Fitness is a place to be, as you probably already know by now. A great place. Couldn't recommend it more highly. Thank you, my friend.
Thanks again.
You're welcome. Thanks for joining us at the Lead Well, Live Well vodcast. Please like, subscribe, and share. If you want to know more about what we're all about, you can find us at leadwelllivewell.com.au.